morning, Central Texas. Welcome to KISS Community Connections, 103.1 KISS FM. I'm Phyllis Jones, your host this morning. You know, it's time upcoming for us to vote. So the elections are coming. And I want to remind everybody, you need to go and register to vote. When you go to renew your license and they ask you, do you want to register to vote? I'm going to tell you this, honestly. It's not their job to turn in those cards at the end of the night or end of the day. So they can actually throw them away. So when you go to DMV and get your driver's license and they ask you to register to vote, it might not go in. So you can go to any of your Bell County offices or your Corio County offices, your county clerk's office, and you can get registration cards from there and vote and register to vote. You cannot register to vote online. A lot of people are not from Texas. They're from states where you can register to vote and vote the same day. Not Texas. Can't do that. It doesn't work. You have to be registered at least 30 days prior to. Also, there'll be different voter registration drives going around in both counties. I guess I'll say all counties. And when I find out where they are, I'll be sure to let you know so you can register to vote. Also, as you know, Texas, we did have the voter ID law. And as we know, it got overturned. So you no longer have to show all that ID to vote, but you still need your voter registration card to come and vote. You do need that. Now, if you come to the polls to vote and you don't have any of those things, you now will have to sign a declaration paper to say that you are a registered voter, which becomes a legal document. And if you say you are a registered voter and you vote and you're not, you can actually be penalized for that. That's because that's a legal document that they will now be making you sign as a way of saying that you were a registered voter and you were not. So the best thing to do is bring your voter registration card with you or something with you so you can vote in November's election. Okay, moving on to elections. Our city council right now, we know about the budget crisis we're going through, and we've been reading in the paper, you know, people have been taken out, removed from the city hall meetings. And that's because it's not because people are trying to be rude. You get really caught up in it because our city is short on funds and people are very interested in finding out where those money is going, because we do know it went somewhere. You know, somebody is held accountable for it, but somehow or another, no one is admitting that they did it. You know, so they are trying to force the citizens to pay for that. And personally, I don't think we should. I think if you messed up, you should clean it up. You know, if you spend too much money, do like everybody do in your household. When you spend too much money over here, you crunch somewhere until you get back on your feet. So I would just say they need to do that. But in case anybody wants to go to the next city council meeting to talk about the shortage, and, you know, they threatened to make us pay more utility fees. I disagree with that. Like I still said, if you mess up, you should fix it within house first. But September 6th at 5 o'clock, if you want to speak about the budget and have something to say about it, at 6 o'clock, be at City Hall, and you will be able to speak upon what you think about it. Do your homework and do your study. But the first thing you really want to know is, I don't think we need to pay for their shortage. They made it on their own. They need to fix it on their own. That's my own opinion of it. And mine, I guess a lot of other people feel the same way, that we don't need to do that. And this morning we have a lot of topics we're going to cover. I guess myself, I do. And then I met some lovely people the other night, and they're going to talk. They're kind of nervous, but nah, not really. But let's move on to another situation. You know, myself, I'll say when the police department does something good, I'll say so. I put an article in the paper last Sunday, if anybody want to know, about the good things the police do. But when they do something wrong, we need to let somebody know. So I'm going to tell you about a situation that happened that should be fixed. Two of my coworkers, as everybody know, I work for KISD. I'm not going to say what school. But two of my coworkers were stopped for 2 different days for something utterly crazy. The first day, one of my coworkers was stopped because the police officer, white female, said that she didn't turn her turn signal on fast enough. So they talked about that a little bit, but the officer said, I need to see your driver's license and check to see if you killed anybody. That didn't sit very well with my coworker, because, you know, she's Hispanic. She didn't take that very well. She felt uncomfortable about that, you know. About saying that, and that's not something I think a police officer should say or is supposed to say. You know, let me check your license if you killed anybody. Well, she brought it back to her and just told her to go. No, have a nice day. No, I didn't mean to say it this way, but just told her she can go. So she left. Came on to school. Second day. Now, mind you, we came to school 2 weeks prior to school starting. So there was no school. Second coworker, African-American female, she gets stopped by the same police officer. And she told her she was talking on her cell phone in the school zone. Number one, school has not started yet. Okay, so that law is only effect when school has started. Second, she was eating candy. And she told the officer I was eating some candy. She said, well, it looked like you on your cell phone. I don't know how eating candy looks like you on your cell phone. I don't. I mean, it's not like you hold it in your mouth while you eat it. You put it down. But she got stopped for that. And, read a little riot act about being in the school zone. And mind you, school was not open. We would know. We're educators. We work for school district. We knew there was no school. So that was a senseless stop. Didn't make any sense. Didn't come about anything. Those things need to be reported because an officer like that will cause the police department to look bad. People will say, this is what they did. I'm saying this is what she did. But later on, it will be, this is what they did. This is what they do. So I'm telling everybody, when something like that happens, just call. You might not want to file a complaint, but you might want to let the police chief, a captain, or one of the lieutenants know this is what happened on the stop and let them correct that officer. Either remove the officer, correct the officer, whatever they need to do that. But by all means, don't come to work and complain about it and you're not going to do anything about it. I don't like people who complain about something, don't do nothing about it. It drives me up the wall because at that point, I'm telling you, me personally will tell you, either do something about it or be quiet. That's me. So I want to let you know when police officers do something good, I'm quickly to say yes. And I'm not going to say all. I'll say, if you read my article last week, I said exactly what officers were at certain events and did certain things. I said that. But when they're doing something wrong, you need to also say that too. And I'm not going to put it in the paper. I'm telling everybody now. But we needed to step up and do things because when we allow things to happen, then it becomes okay. We become complacent and it gets worse. That's how things go that way. It's just like a little kid. If he does something wrong the first day and you said, don't do it. He goes, that's all they said. So you're going to do it again. And you're going to tap him on his hands. He's going to go, okay, I guess I can't do that anymore. He learned real quick. I'm not going to do that anymore. But same thing. So like I said, when those two incidents happened, they were crazy. Didn't make any sense at all. And I want to ask that police officer, where is she now? Because school has started and people flying through the school zone doing 40 miles an hour and she's not there. So I wonder where she is right now. But also, anyway, so let's get back to my show and what we're going to talk about, even though that was part of my show. If you come to, I do First Friday, Black Business Cash Mob Meetups. And no, Mel, I'm not going to shorten the name of it. I heard you on the radio yesterday. But anyway, when you come to them, we have a lot of fun. And what it is every first Friday of the month at 7 p.m. we meet at a different Black business. We're not a group, we're not an organization. We just simply have some fun. We talk, we meet each other, and you find out things that you really didn't know. And you find people who are doing things, you go, wait a minute, we were talking across the table, diagonally, on all sides, trying to find out you do what? Really? You do what? And you don't have to be a business owner, just anybody who wants to come and support a business, which is very important that we do that. But Friday night, we had some fun. So I met two young ladies, and they're sitting there like, oh no, here we come, here's our time. But I want to say good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning.
And how did you find out about the First Friday Black Business Cash Mob Meetup?
So I was driving in the car on, I want to say it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and I was tuning in to the station. I'm new to the area, so I was just trying to find a radio station. And then the speaker that was, talking, he said,
males.
This Friday, we're having a networking event. Yeah. So come out, support your Black businesses. And I immediately was like, ravenous. Okay. I was driving, so I couldn't write anything down. So I Googled it on Facebook, and then I called and found out about the information. I was super excited because it's nice to support each other, because as a community, we don't do that often. So it's nice to be in a new area where we can actually come together, meet new people, have some fun, and just, network.
So how did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it. We actually came from Washington State. I'm military. She's actually transitioning from the dentistry work here. And we've actually enjoyed it. We're actual professional network marketers. And to actually come and be a part of your event, that was a blessing itself, because that's something we were actually looking for, you know. So we just appreciate you for taking the time out to actually, you know, put that event on and then invite us and the network. And it was a great experience.
Thank you. And it was fun. Like I said, we get to meet. And my thing, I do it is for two reasons. One, we know where some of the businesses are, but we're not going. So this way we can go have fun. And I always tell the business owners, not that we are here, it's your job to make sure we come back. It becomes their job. The only job they have is to make sure we come back.
Yes.
Because they can cause us to walk away and never come back, or they can cause us to say, you know what, hold up, I'm going to hold something, I'm going to do it there. I'm going to do it here. I'm going to do it there. Okay, so now I got y'all talking. You see, I did that real smooth, right?
Awesome.
Okay, so I'm not going to do this, and everybody knows I do this way. So I need you to introduce yourselves and name of the company you're representing.
All right, so my name is LaKisha Curry. The name of the company that I am representing, I am the independent representative of my own business. So basically what we believe in is making a living, and not, you know, a lot of us are just existing and not actually living. So that's the company. It's 90% visual and it's 10%, you know, of speaking about it.
What's the name of the company? Okay.
So my name is Khalijah Cam. I'm actually currently active duty military. I got introduced to this concept about a year ago by my husband and his friend. And him and I were both time broke. Being in the military, you stay gone, you're training a lot. But when you get home on the weekends, you don't want to do anything. So we were more of time broke. And then we were also living from paycheck to paycheck. And what I mean when I say paycheck to paycheck is, you know how like technically you're supposed to save up to 6 months of your income.
Right.
We didn't have that at that time. And because of this concept, we're allowed to breathe more. You know what I mean? It's like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So we just want to educate people about this concept and let them know what it's all about.
Okay, so the concept is money?
No. So you know how most people have a bucket list?
Yes.
Of things they want to experience, places they want to go, but they're very limited to experience those things because of the current budget. Well, we educate people on how to do those experiences on their current budget. That's what we do. Okay,
now explain. You know, some people do live paycheck. I say to darn near paycheck, because some don't live from paycheck to paycheck. They live from paycheck to almost the next paycheck because they broke right before payday. So they're trying to figure out what I'm gonna do about whatever I gotta do until it comes. So some people don't even make it that far. What made you become a part and to work for getting people to understand that they can save money? I mean, what started it? Where did the concept come from?
The concept pretty much came from an NTC of people, entrepreneurship. You know, stepping outside the box. We're the type of people that step outside the box. The people that are in the box are the ones that have jobs. We call in our world jobs a just over broke, because that's what we're doing. We're living from paycheck to paycheck. But what if there was a way to step outside that box, get comfortable being uncomfortable, and get paid for your worth rather than a job telling you what you're worth? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and that's what we do. We use this concept of travel because you got the travel industry that's $1.8 trillion industry. All we need is a piece of that. Who doesn't want to be a part of that? You have an entire culture, entire world that you can't discriminate against because everybody wants to do it from the young to the old. That's what you want to do. You know what I mean? So why not take that concept and build on it, giving people their experiences, giving them a chance to create their bucket list, but at the same time, earn that financial freedom while doing it.
So how do you think people get into that hole, that gap where it's the hole and money pours into it and they don't know where it's going? You know, that money that you try, let's say you build a budget, you look at it, but you build a visual budget. You don't do it on paper. You do a visual budget, which is really bad. But when you do that, all of a sudden you find out that somewhere it went down some hole and you can't figure out where it went. How do people, first of all, how do they get there and how do they fix that? And do you teach that?
Yes, we do, educate people on financial freedom, but one of the things is I like to quote from Robert Kiyosaki, the richest people in the world look for and build networks while everyone else looks for work. So what they teach us in school is the periodic table. They don't teach us about financial freedom. They teach us about a war in 1955 that we never even remember. So we're just uneducated on finances and how we actually save money, because we almost buy things that we want all the time and not necessarily what we need. So a lot of us are not investing our money. We have a lot of liabilities and not, assets. And we need to learn about more assets so we can invest our money in things that will create more revenue for us. Because a lot of us only have one stream of income. So we have to be open-minded and think, hey, I need about several streams of income, because the average, richest man in the world has 7. And most of us are trying to live on 1. So we just really got to pay attention and open our minds and just realize it's other ways we can create some generational wealth. And as a community, we know nothing about that as well. Like nothing about generational wealth. We were taught to go to school, get good grades, go to college and get a job. They teach them to build businesses, be an entrepreneur, go step out on faith, which is like the darkest, going into a dark room and you don't know where you're going to step, but that's faith. And as entrepreneurs, that's what we do. We don't know what's going to happen, but as long as you have a vision of where you're going, you can do it. And that's the same with finances. If you really look at your money and really look at where you're spending it and not on Jordans and wigs and extensions and that kind of stuff, and really think about your children and your family's tree. See, I want to be the last thing or the last person in my generation is curry and saying, we didn't have it. We couldn't do this. And I'll be dang, if my daughter comes up and be wanting to spend $2,000 on something that makes her no money back. So we're teaching them very early about financial freedom. So if you haven't read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, go get that book and read it. It will change your world and how you think of stuff, especially finances. So anything?
Oh, just that was awesome, Keisha. And just a caveat on what you just said, it's also a thing about nobody knows about residual income. We have residual bills every month, but what if you can turn that around and gain residual income that can cover those bills? Residual income is making money while you sleep, leveraging off the work you've already done in the past. So if there's a way to do that, let's do that, and you'll start to see the doors open up, opportunities come knocking, everything, and I just love how you said about the generational wealth. I mean, I want, as a mother, for my son, he wants to go see Egypt, the pyramids.
Right.
I want to be able to say, you know what, son, let's just go see the pyramids. Why study in the book? Let's just get up and go. I want that time back with my family. You know what I mean? And that's what we're doing. That's what we're all about. And that's what we want to educate people on.
The part about making money while you sleep, I like that. I'm an entrepreneur, and I get up in the morning to see who I need to send stuff to. Because the money's already there. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And it's a lot of fun. And also what we need to learn if you're an entrepreneur is how to do business outside of the United States.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I did learn that. I learned how to do that, and I make more money outside of the U.S. than I do in the U.S. Sounds weird, and people look at me like I'm crazy, but I actually do. And it was just being out there and doing what I do, because I do more than radio show. I do a bunch of things, and I meet a lot of people, and I listen to what they're talking about. Now, some people I'm tuning you out because the business I have, you're talking about partnership. I can't have a partner in my business. No, can't have that. I'm a solopreneur.
Yes.
And people don't talk about those either. A solopreneur. I only talk about entrepreneurs, but and we're different than entrepreneurs. But we need to learn how to do business globally, because we need to learn that everybody else, like your cell phone, most likely is not made in the United States. So that's globally, and so we need to learn how to do that. And like you said, make money while you're sleeping. It's very important. At what age should a parent or you or workshop or whatever start teaching a child about money?
Early. Wow. My daughter's 3, so and she's 3, and she's around what we're doing. So very early, I'm teaching her about money. Even how much is this, and okay, we're going to save a little bit over here. So very early in the game, because I think my mother didn't teach us that because she barely knew. So now that you know different, you do different for your children. So.
Oh, definitely. My son, it's funny because, you know, everybody has their different strategies of teaching their children at a young age. You know, at one point, it wasn't an allowance. It was more of a commission. But then at the same time, I wanted him to get out of that mindset of commission. Because if you think about commission, you think about somebody paying you rather than you paying yourself. You know what I mean? So we're definitely tailoring him at a young age. I got him reading Rich Dad for Teens by Robert Kiyosaki and educating him on, you know, being a part of that, you know, investor or that business owner or what have you, and trying to earn residual income. So it's very important. You start teaching kids about money at the age of 3. You know what I mean? Just start doing it. You know, I highly encourage that. But in my household, it's the mindset has to change. My mindset has totally flipped, and I wish I knew that mindset at, you know, before I went to college and things of that nature. I wish I knew that mindset. But right now, you know, we teach our kids, go to school. The education is very important. Yes. But at the same time, we teach him financial education at our home. You know what I mean? Or go to seminars and things of that nature. That's what we do, because they're not going to teach financial education at school. They don't do that. It's just something that they don't do. Otherwise, everybody be rich.
But, you know, to defend that statement, I'll put it this way. Schools should not teach that. And I'm going to tell you why. Schools shouldn't teach kids a lot about a financial education. They should maybe tap into a little bit, because kids learn financial education through their families. Because I can't teach financial education to your child the way you do it. I can't teach it to your child the way you structure it. You know what I mean? I can teach them how to build a plan, you know, but home needs to teach them how to facilitate that plan, because every household is different. So if schools taught that, it would be the same as history. They teach you parts of it, and then the parents need to finish out the rest. So I think certain parts of financial history, schools need to touch on, maybe to define it, what it is. The parents need to say what it looks like. You see what I mean? The parents might say, the school we need the foundation to teach what it is. Parents need to teach how it's run. Because like I said, if we taught your child this is how it should go, he's gonna go home and say, this is how it should go. You can go, not in my house. You know, he's like, ooh, wait a minute, hold up. You know, you're gonna say, no, our house doesn't go that way. It goes this way and this way. So I think the school should do maybe the basics, the foundation, and then the parents do the rest. And I'll say that's like anything, like a history. Schools don't teach history correctly. They don't. If you read the book that your child is reading, you'll know. But okay, then it becomes the parents' job to place history where it goes in certain areas. So I'll say yes, school, but we can't. Schools are pushed every year more and more and more to teach more other stuff, and parents are allowing it to happen by not speaking up. Because I'll ask parents quickly, when the last time you've been to the State Board of Education meeting? Most parents will look at me like I'm crazy and say I've never been. And I'll tell you, those are the people who decide what your child learns. And you're gonna go, oh, I work every day, so I can't go. I don't buy that, because I work every day too, and I go, and I don't have any kids in school. And I fight for kids' education all the time. I don't have any kids in school. I have none. But guess what? I have a vested interest in those kids, because if they're not raised right, they're gonna vote wrong when I get older and need them. They're not gonna know how to vote on what I need, because I didn't bother by educating them when they were little. So as far as what you said, the foundation, okay, if you want that foundation of financial education done, then you need to talk to the State Board of Education who placed those things in place. Because talking to your school board, they can't implement that. They don't have the funds for it. But your state education can make it implemented. That's where those things begin. People go to the school board and yell and scream. We can yell and scream at them all day long. Their hands are tied. They can only do so much. And you're going to walk away mad saying, you know what? I wanted this brought into the schools, and they wouldn't bring. You need to go to the people who make the decisions if you want something done. So if you would like that instituted in high school, middle school, that needs to be. It might be an elective, but you need to go to the State Board of Education with it all laid out, how it's going to go, the curriculum written. Those are the people that vote on it. So we like I said, we often want something done, and we get upset about it not being done, but we go to the wrong people to go to fight for it, and then we leave upset. And you're gonna say they didn't want to listen to me when actually it wasn't their job; it's somebody else's job to actually implement it. So I agree with that. Because they used to have a class like that, but it was taken away, and it was taken away because testing became a Texas #1 thing. So a lot of things had to go away. Well, it can be brought back, but someone has to say so. Someone has to pick up that torch and say, you know what, I'm going to Austin to their next meeting, and I'm going to speak there. Because, like I said, they're the ones who make the rules on what we do. Every day, they make the rules. We don't make them. They do it.
Okay, that's very good to know. Seriously, that's
those
good
are the
information.
folks. But we go to, like I said, we always go to the wrong people.
Yeah,
and then get upset. No, you go to the right ones and demand they do what you do.
Okay.
And listen to them, and because we vote, and unfortunately we vote in our state board members, state education board. We vote them in, and we don't pay attention to who the heck they are. We don't. We don't. We don't. Because if you knew the one who represents us, you would throw up everywhere you go. Because he says some things. He says some things that I want to get a wooden paddle with the holes in it and go, because that's what he needs. Because he said some crazy things.
Wow.
But we voted him in office. So
got to do better.
So the education part of what we need to teach is there. It can be done. Just need to go to the right people. Okay. Now, other question. Kids go to college. They go through that little line of welcome here, welcome, and they get all this paperwork, and they get all this. And on the end of that line, there's that people card, credit card.
It's party time. No, it's good.
Party time.
And this kid is on his own or her own. They're in the college. They're responsible. They're grown, so they think they got it all together, and they apply for that credit card, good or bad. And why?
So, again, it's about the financial education. I mean, has that child been financially educated to know how to use that credit card? Because, credit card companies, we got it. They're sharks all the time. They know what they're out to get. You know what I mean? But at the same time, has your child been educated to use that credit card for good debt or bad debt? There are two forms of debt. You know what I mean? So, I guess I said it, financial education. I mean, hey,
would you recommend that the parents tell their child not to apply for it yet? Not ever, but yet, because he's just not getting there.
I'm not saying not yet.
I'm not gonna say not yet because you want to establish some type of credit, but it's all about being responsible and what are you going to use that credit for? You know what I mean? So there's different avenues. That's just my personal opinion that you can take. Back in the day when I did apply for that credit card, I took the bad one. I was consuming all day pizza, all that good stuff, paying for it. I paid for it. But if I knew, you know what I mean, what I know today, I would have definitely took a different route.
Okay.
So, I mean, what I would do if I was that college student, I would really be thinking about, all right, here I'm in college. I'm already going to have a ton of debt by the time I graduate. And, they have this dream of they're going to get this degree. They're going to have this lifestyle as far as I'm going to be a therapist or a doctor or something. And then they don't realize they're in $200,000 worth of debt. And now they have created maybe one credit card, two with, $1,000 on it. And when they get out, they can't even find a job. So that's the system that we're in is, they want us to go to college, but we don't realize that we are going to already be in debt. So there's no way of paying off debt from a $20,000 salary that you might get with that degree. So I would just tell the kids to wait on it a little bit, have your parents help you out as best you can. Maybe get a part-time job where you can get a credit card, keep the limit at $150 and really pay on that credit card, and don't let yourself get that credit limit up higher because you're going to get over your head, and before you know it, you're going to have the credit card for 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, and you still haven't paid off that college pizza party that you had in 2002 or something. So I would wait.
I don't, and I'll say I don't understand it because I know you can. Technically, I'll say, and it might sound mean what I'm going to say, technically any parent that pays for college now is crazy. because you scholarship your child through college. And you can also, there's also, if you know what you're doing, there's a scholarship you can get for your kid to go, a food card. And they can eat 100-mile radius of the college university that they're in. They can eat 6 days free. I don't know why it's 6 days, but they can eat 6 days off that card free. So if you are a parent who actually knows what they're looking for, you can scholarship your child through college. And they can graduate maybe with not $20,000 debt, but as you get up to get your PhD, there's no scholarships for PhD. But it depends on where you work at, because if you have a certain job, that job will pay for you to get it. So you can actually go to school free. So if any parent who's struggling paying for their kids' college, I don't know what you're doing. I have no idea, because you don't have to, there's no reason to pay for college anymore. Not unless your parents are both doctors, then you're going to pay for college, because you don't tend to want to qualify for most of the scholarships, but they need to teach the parents and the kids now. And I think that should be part of financial literacy. To teach for the parents to learn earlier how to get their kids through college, because they'll say, well, it's all on them. No, it's all on you, because that bill's gonna come knocking on your door saying you need to pay this while this child's in school. You need to pay that. You need to come up with this money. So I hope that if your group doesn't offer it, that you include that in there to teach parents how not to go broke paying for their child to go to college.
And I think too, a lot of parents, they're just so used to the old system and they don't know any better. So they just like, I gotta go put my kid through college and figure out this debt, instead of really looking into more research on how they can get through college without paying anything. So that's really good information.
Okay, we're gonna take a break and we're gonna come right back with that big question.